T-minus 6 weeks until WrestleMania 42. Does it feel like WrestleMania season yet? We had CM Punk in the main event tonight, the main event segment. And I think it was XO in the chat, I believe, who actually had a great comment. I glanced over and I saw that he's so right. If somebody would have just told CM Punk that the Usos were from Saudi Arabia and not Samoan, then maybe he would have apologized. And then this all could have been avoided. Because we know Saudi Arabia is very used to CM Punk apologies. Of course, that's the greatest moment in John Cena's career, was seeing CM Punk apologize in Saudi Arabia last year. This all could have been avoided. Roman Reigns was not on the show tonight. He's back on the show next week, as is Brock Lesnar. So we were without some of the bigger names tonight. So what they did in the closing segment was they tried to add another layer to this story between Punk and Roman. Of course, the big controversy coming out of Raw last week at the end of the show was Punk making the comment about, I'm going to bury you and you're not going to be alone the way you've been alone lately because your family, your cousins aren't with you anymore. Your wise man's not with you. The Shield's not with you. But you won't be alone because I'm going to bury you next to your father. Right? He went low. And so this week, the Usos had an issue with that. And they wanted CM Punk to apologize. They wanted him to apologize for what he said last week. And Punk just could not bring himself to apologize. And it was actually, I thought, a very strong segment. I thought that, and one of the reasons it was very strong is because both sides, you can see their perspective, right? You could see where the Usos would have a right to be upset with Punk over what he said, but also Punk made some good points in his promo as well tonight about why he shouldn't have to apologize. How come I have to apologize? But Roman has made comments before. Roman has dissed the late American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, my mentor, Cody's dad. And he doesn't have to apologize for that, but I have to apologize for what I said. And we got to see the Usos in a situation where we were actually seeing them in a serious way. This was not about running it back. This was not about anything. This was not about yeeting. This was not about any of that. And so I thought it was effective. Because when Roman Reigns is not on the show, again, you're limited in what you can do. People want to see Roman and Punk. They don't want to see Punk and the Usos. They don't want to see Punk, just looking into the camera. Roman's not here, so what do? So they're bringing in the other family members into it. And I thought that was an interesting approach. I thought it was an effective approach to take. But it also leaves me wondering if we are going to see a reunion at the end of WrestleMania. Are they so devoid of ideas and so desperate to go back to the glory days of 2022 and 2023 that they are going to reunite the OG bloodline? Is that what we are going to see at the close of WrestleMania this year? Certainly left you with that impression as a possibility. Could very well happen. That and the Judgment Day segment on tonight's show, those are the two strongest segments on Raw. I feel like we have been waiting years, literally years, for what we saw tonight. Finn Balor is one of the early members of the Judgment Day. He's not one of the OG members, but when Edge got kicked out, Finn Balor basically took his spot, and it's been Finn Balor in the Judgment Day now for years and years. And there have been teases now for about as long of discord, I guess, between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. And there have been teases up and down the show for the longest time now that things that were at some point going to go sideways with these two. And either Dom would get bounced or Balor would get bounced. Tonight it was Finn Balor. Last week when Dominic lost his championship to Penta, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Finn Balor has been excommunicated from the Judgment Day. He was beaten down by his family. And that now paves the way for the obvious WrestleMania match. I don't know, maybe they want to throw JD McDonough in there. But the obvious match between Finn Balor and Dominic for WrestleMania. That seems to be where we are headed with that. It was again, a very effective angle, I thought, for what they were trying to do. And it was certainly a long time coming. So those were really the two big things on the show. We also had a gauntlet match that went for over 20 minutes to decide the number one contender for the women's Intercontinental title. That match is going to be taking place next week. Bayley is getting a championship match. She's not winning a championship, but she is getting a championship match next week. And we had Penta's first defense of his Intercontinental title against El Grande Americano. Still stuck in the Americano vortex. I feel like I have been watching some variation of this match now for almost a year. This is ridiculous. It has to stop. Like, it just has to come to an end. At some point, like, what are we doing here? Is there no one else in the mid-card on Monday Night Raw for this man to fight with? Please, I beg of you. The surplus of talent they have in this company, and I just feel like I'm watching the same matches over and over again, only now Penta has a belt. The Punk segment was strong. Like I said, the Judgment Day angle was very simple but effective. The rest of the show, it just felt like it was there. Yeah, the rest of the show was just there. I'm still waiting for it to really, I mean, outside of the Punk and Roman stuff, I'm still waiting for it to feel like WrestleMania. I still don't get that feeling yet. We're about 6 weeks away. Again, next week we get Roman Reigns back on the show. Brock Lesnar is back on the show. He's got his open challenge that we know about. Maybe things will start to feel a little bit different at that point. But for tonight, it was a mixed bag. But definitely some stuff to, I think, like and to build upon as we head into Las Vegas in a few weeks. This is your Raw on Netflix review. It is Monday night. It is March 9th, 2026. I am the Solomonster. I thank you for joining me here on a Monday night. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open, and you will see them popping up on your screen.
Look at Richie Rich over here
my
dropping
God.
all this money on me.
Look who it is.
I just want you to know, I think you rock. I don't mean The Rock, A-Rock. You rock. And I just wanted you to know that.
It is the Portland pop star. Paul Hamilton was front and center. He was dead center on the hard cam, front row on SmackDown, because they were in Portland on Friday night. And this man was representing the sound off. He had the shirt. He had the sign. I love it. And now we got the $100 bomb.
Holy shit.
Holy shit indeed. Thank you, Solomonster, for getting us through every episode. Good or bad, you're the GOAT from the Portland pop star. And Paul, you know that you are always appreciated around these parts. Paul is an OG. Paul is awesome. And also a genuinely good human being, which makes it all the more better. So, Paul, I thank you. Getting us started the right way here this week. So anyway, get those super chats on in. And if we get any other ones, we already had some, but if we get any other ones from this point on, I will be reading them. Questions, comments, send them on in. Also, just a quick reminder, because tomorrow is Tuesday, which means a brand new episode of the Uncrowned Wrestling Show hosted by this guy sitting right here on the Ariel Helwani Show feed, wherever you get your podcast from. I already got my notes together, including a bunch of stuff that popped up today. So it's going to be a fun time. That will be dropping later in the day tomorrow. And so be sure to check that out. And of course, the new episode of The Sound Off as well, episode 954, which came in at number 2. Number 2 on the Apple Podcast charts for all wrestling shows across the country this morning, topped only by Jim Cornette. That son of a bitch. One of these days. Anyway, that doesn't happen without you. So thank you for that. All right, let's spin the wheel, and then we'll get going here. As you know, we spin the wheel to find out how many likes we need to do our Be the Booker segment, which we typically do at the end, if we hit the goal. Ooh, look at this. 515 likes. You guys got some work to do. I don't know. If we can hit minimum 515 likes, then we will be booking the, I don't even know what I'm saying. Being the book. We will be booking the being. No, we will be being the booker later on here in the stream. 515 is the goal. You guys know what to do. Let's take it from the top. You know, one thing I didn't mention was what happened here in the opening segment of this show. My God, this opening segment. Oh, I guess we have to talk about this. Adam Pearce was in the ring. Raw General Manager Adam Pearce. And he said that he had some unfortunate business to attend to. Yeah, this segment. And he called for Seth Rollins to come down to the ring. Because he knew Seth was here, the Vision is here, so he presumes that Seth Rollins is somewhere in the building. So instead, what we got Well, and I lost track. It was at least a dozen. I think it was actually over a dozen. But we had about a dozen masked men, as if we haven't had enough of these now over the last few months. We had a dozen masked men who hopped the barricade, and they're standing at ringside. And would you believe that simply for all of these masked men running out to the ring, the crowd burst into a chant of holy shit. This is what got a holy shit chant on this show. Think of all the things that you could chant holy shit for any given week on the show. This is what they chanted for. So again, if you are wondering what the meaning of these chants are at this point here in WWE, they don't really mean much. They really don't. When you start chanting holy shit for something like this, it means absolutely. It has lost all meaning and all value. I'm sorry. This is the crap that gets a chant. Unbelievable. So then they got into the ring, and I'm watching this, and they start jumping around. It was like, and I think Michael Cole even made a comment about this, like the shell game, you know, where you're now I know the shell game from watching the Bob Barker version of The Price is Right back in the day. That's when I first saw the shell game. I don't know if Drew Carey still does it on the modern version of the show. That was always one of my favorite games, right? Which cup is the ball under? You got to figure it out. That's what they were doing. They were jumping back and forth. They were doing some sort of like jazzercise workout. I don't know what these fucking people were doing. It looked completely ridiculous. And then the point here is that Seth Rollins appeared. He was one of the masked men, but they were trying to confuse you. Now, why they would be trying to confuse us or why they would be trying to confuse Adam Pearce, I have no idea. But there he was, right? We found the masked man who was Seth Rollins. He pulled the mask off, and it was Seth, and he got a big pop. I'm not sure why any of this was necessary. And Adam Pearce basically said the same thing. He said that, look, you and I have known each other a long time. You didn't have to go through this whole charade here. So he told Rollins, look, you and I, we see eye to eye in that we're not fond of the Vision, okay? We have that in common. But the masked men showing up and attacking every single week, this was unacceptable. So he said, Rollins, you're not medically cleared. He questioned what would happen if the members of the Vision got their hands on the members of the Vision. Like, we have 2 fucking members left of the Vision. Paul Heyman's been taken out. Seth Rollins is no longer part of the group. Braun Breaker is hurt. Bronson Reed is hurt. The fuck are we even left with at this point? I don't think Seth Rollins is too worried about it. Logan Paul and Austin Theory. Logan Paul, who has been issuing challenges to boxing matches and then ducking said challenges. I'll talk about that on the Uncrowned show tomorrow. But Logan Paul and Austin Theory, they come down to the ring without Paul Heyman, who was stomped last week. So he was not on the show. So they got up on the apron. Rollins put his mask on. This is the most ridiculous part of all this. Puts his mask back on. And all of the other masked men join him in the ring again. And they all shuffle again, back and forth to confuse the heels so they don't know where Seth Rollins is. And then they all leave the ring and Rollins is gone. We don't know which masked man he is, but they all vanish and they all disappear into the crowd. Rollins is nowhere to be found. You know what this reminds me of? If you used to watch the Ninja Turtles cartoon or even the movies, the live action movies, when they would throw I don't even know what it was, that white thing, that white ball or whatever, they would throw it down on the ground and then there would be like smoke everywhere so they can make their great escape. It's like that's what they were trying to accomplish here. It just looked completely ridiculous. So LA Knight's theme music hits because of course it does. The Vision is out there. We're not allowed to have an LA Knight segment on the show unless the Vision is involved. So LA Knight comes to the ring to fight the Vision. Stop me if you've heard this before. I feel like you've heard me say that many times over the last 9 months. But he's back out there to fight the Vision. And the heels got the better of him until Jey Uso's music hits. And so Jimmy and Jay, they come out to help LA Knight clear the ring, or at least clear Austin Theory from the ring. Yes, the smoke bomb. Thank you. The smoke bomb. So they could make their great escape. I think it would have been better if they would have just... You know why they should have thrown the smoke bomb down? Because they all look like a bunch of fucking ninjas out there. Need I take you back to 2020? A very famous rant that I had here on one of these streams about ninjas. We went through a period of time about 5 or 6 years ago in WWE, if you weren't around back then on these streams, where they had, like Vince McMahon had an obsession with ninjas. He clearly had seen some sort of movie. I don't know if it was the Ninja Turtle movie, but he saw some sort of ninja movie. And he got the idea in his head, you know what this show is missing? It's missing ninjas. And every fucking week we would have ninjas on the show, or people dressed up looking like them. And I think it was on that Extreme Rules. Oh God, what the hell was that pay-per-view that they did? The horror show, Extreme Rules. Yeah, everything was a horror show back then. And I lost my mind. I was like, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it. No more ninjas. So we had ninjas back on the show today. Seth Rollins now has a band of ninjas. Maybe this is going to be his new faction going forward. So anyway, the Usos, they clear Austin Theory from the ring. Yes, Omos was a ninja. I do remember that. Yes, he was one of them. Omos was a ninja. So they set up Logan Paul for a 1D. Theory pulls him out to the floor to safety. And then, of course, Jay tells the Music Man, we got to run it back. So they play his music and he yeets. And everyone is yeeting, and then they played their music for an uncomfortably long period of time before we finally just faded to commercial break. The Seth Rollins stuff, it looked like something out of an episode of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, okay? It was completely ridiculous, and whatever the idea was behind it, they need to stop. Like, they need to stop. Okay, he's back now. I don't know when he'll be medically cleared, but he's back. And the ninja stuff, you got to wind that down. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit if these idiots are chanting holy shit or not. Like, you gotta end this. It's just ridiculous. I can't take him seriously. If this is going to be his new gimmick, I can't do it. I just can't do it. So after a commercial break, Jackie Redmond caught up. He's sticking his tongue. WAZZZAP. Like, what the fuck? He's sticking his tongue. WAZZZAP. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. Retribution 2.0. Because Retribution 1.0 was so good. Yes, we need the putties. Yes, that's what they were. The Power Rangers putties. Seth Rollins has his own band of putties on this show. I think the people who write these shows, I think their brain is made of putty, is what I'm starting to think. Jackie Redmond was in the back. She caught up with the Usos, who said that they got receipts to hand out. And she also asked Jay about CM Punk's comments last week to Roman Reigns. See, she's an instigator. And Jay said, I got nothing to say to CM Punk. But then Jimmy told him, hold up. Says, maybe we do have something to say. So we didn't see them again until the closing segment, which was very interesting because Jay is the one who was blowing it off like, we got nothing to say. He was going to go leave. And Jimmy is the one who stopped him and said, actually, I think we actually might have something to say. But if you watch the closing segment, it was Jay who was all fired up. And Jimmy was the calm one, which is kind of interesting. So after this, they began the gauntlet match. And this was for a shot at the Women's Intercontinental Championship. AJ Lee will be on the show in San Antonio next week defending her title. But who would it be against? Well, we're going to find out here. Because the gauntlet match, you know how a gauntlet works. We start with 2. And then we just keep going until all the members of the gauntlet have come out. And how their order of entry is decided, we were never told. It was kept a secret. Maybe they left it with the ninjas. But we started with Lyra, Valkyria, and Io Sky. So Io countered out of a Nightwing attempt late in this fall into a standing double stomp right to the guts. And she headed up top. She hit her over the moonsault. And she pinned Lyra to advance. And the time that they were in there, I mean, they spent the first few minutes of the match in there together. You know, whatever. The wrestling was solid. But she hits the moonsault and she eliminates Lyra. There's no rest for the weary, though, because number 2 into the gauntlet, Raquel Rodriguez. Io tried her suicide dive, that crazy dive she does out through the ropes. And Raquel caught her. Io worked out of it, though. Ended up getting taken down on the floor with a clothesline. So Raquel put her back in the ring, and she caught her with the corkscrew Vader elbow, as Michael Cole called it, only got a 2 count. Then she caught Io with a shoulder tackle that was actually more like a pounce. I mean, she pounced this woman halfway across the ring, and she pounced us right into the commercial break. So later on, there was a missile drop kick that knocked Raquel down. We got the bullet train knees in the corner by Io. She heads up top. She's about to finish things off again. Liv Morgan comes out, and she runs distraction here. But then we get a burst of pyro, and here comes the Women's World Champion, Stephanie Vaquer, to fight her off, and off they go. So that distraction, though, was enough for Io to catch Raquel with an inside cradle, and she eliminates Raquel right around the 10-minute mark here in this match. And that will not sit well, I would imagine, between Raquel and Liv. But she reacted to this about as well as you would expect. She goes right after Io. She boots her out over the top rope to the floor. Then she lawn darts her into the ring post, and then, or the ring post casing, and then delivers a Tejana bomb on the apron. So now Io is dead. She is lying dead outside on the floor. Here comes Ivy Nile. She runs down to the ring. She doesn't waste any time. She puts Io inside and immediately hooks the leg and covers her, and she pins Io Sky. Ivy Nile eliminates Io Sky from the gauntlet match. And Ivy's arms, I will say, she was looking jacked as I've ever seen her. She's like flexing her biceps and everything. So that's a big elimination right there. Bayley was out next, and she went to go check on Io at ringside when Ivy attacked her from behind. And we went to another commercial break. You know, it's hard to believe that was a WrestleMania match for the championship 2 years ago. We had Io Sky against Bayley. So there was a nice delayed vertical suplex by Ivy where she had Bayley up probably for a good 15 seconds and then dropped her. Then she delivered a superplex where Bayley's ass looked like it hit the mat before her back did. Even Michael Cole, he said, that was a weird landing. Bayley made a comeback, hit the Bayley to belly, and she scored the pin. So thanks for coming, Ivy Nile. You know, once I realized that this was a gauntlet match, because when I talked about this last week, I was like, you know, Ivy might actually have a shot of winning this. I'm just wondering, like, why is she in this match? Right? She's in there with all these other big names that are pushed, typically pushed, and Ivy is not pushed. So why is she in there if she's not going to get the surprise win? And then I said, oh shit, it's a gauntlet match. Like, there ain't no fucking way she's winning a gauntlet match. But she did eliminate Io Sky. So that's something at least. Asuka was the next and last entrant, entering with Kairi Sane. Bayley, though, shot out of the ring like a cannon with a forearm shot right to Asuka's jaw ahead of the commercial break. They showed a slow-mo replay of it, and it looked great. So there was another Bayley to belly later in the match. The fans bid on it because she had just used it as a finish earlier. This time, though, Asuka kicked out. So Asuka distracted the referee later on. So that would allow Kairi to do a number on Bayley outside the ring. Before she kind of rears back, and before she could actually throw a punch, Lyra Valkyria flies in from off camera and delivers a shotgun drop kick, just drop kick Kairi right into the side of the ring. Back inside, Bayley tried her diving elbow. Asuka, though, caught her on the way down into an Asuka lock, which looked kind of cool. Bayley, though, countered out of it into a pin attempt. The referee would not count because Asuka's shoulders were up. So Bayley picked her up and instead dropped her with a rose plant. And she pinned Asuka to win the gauntlet match. Yes, Bayley is the number one contender now for the Intercontinental title. And Asuka was not happy with Kairi about this. She's never happy with Kairi. But this means that Bayley will now challenge AJ Lee next Monday night in San Antonio. I mean, it was fine. I mean, we've had gauntlet matches on this show before. This was not one of the better ones, not one of the more memorable ones. It's an easy way to eat up television time. You know, they killed about 22 minutes or so with this gauntlet. If anything, I actually thought, honestly, I'm sure it's not going to lead to anything, but I thought Ivy Nile looked good. Ivy Nile actually got to eliminate Io. The delayed vertical suplex was a nice spot there. She had some time to go on a string of offense. And she looked as good in the ring on this show as we've probably ever seen her. She doesn't get a lot of time on the show to begin with. I just wish, you know, if they were going to give somebody that spot, that it would lead somewhere. It will lead absolutely, I guarantee you, it will lead absolutely nowhere. But I thought if anybody had the best showing here, it might have been Ivy, to be perfectly honest with you. But here's the bigger question. What the hell are they doing with Io Sky at WrestleMania? That's what I would like to know. The sense that I get coming out of this, and maybe not, maybe it was a one-night thing, but you watch this, and it makes you think that Io Sky and Raquel Rodriguez are going to have a singles match at WrestleMania. Now, if they have nothing better for them to do, and look, I like Raquel, I love Io. I mean, great for them if they get a spot on the show in that situation, but is that a WrestleMania match? That feels like a Monday Night Raw match. Are they really going to do that at WrestleMania? What other conclusion are you left to draw coming out of this show as far as what Io's role on that show is going to be? I don't know. I really don't know. But to not have a defined role for someone like Io Sky, especially when you look back at WrestleMania last year, she went into that show as the champion. She came out of that show as the champion. She had what, in my opinion, was the WWE match of the year. And I had it as my overall match of the year. And she has no obvious, clear path to WrestleMania right now. Rhea Ripley won the Elimination Chamber. Rhea Ripley is wrestling Jade Cargill. We know that already. That takes Io out of the tag team scene. What does that leave her with? I would love to see Io and Asuka one-on-one. They did nothing, though, in this gauntlet match to even tease the possibility that that was a match they were looking at. So I'm left to wonder, what the hell are they going to do with her? I really hope we get Io and Asuka. And like, the idea that I was thinking of is like, okay, where do all these pieces fit? Io against Asuka. Kairi doesn't have to wrestle, but Kairi will be a very important part of that story. Or maybe Kairi will finally kind of break free from the chains of Asuka at WrestleMania. And it takes, Io and Io beating Asuka to help make that happen. I think you can tell that story, but there was no indication of that at all on this show. Short of that, I have no idea. I have no idea what else you would do logically with Io at WrestleMania. And it would be a sin for them not to have something meaningful for her to do on that show. She's one of the best they have. Triple H, every time he talks about her, you watch, Unreal, he glows about her. Man, if God forbid something ever happened to the roster, if you told me I had Io Sky, I know I'd be okay. That's high praise. Coming from the guy who's running the show, you would think that, he would have a better role for her. And right now, it's not really well defined. So we got to work on that. Now, after this, they replayed highlights from last week's segment, show closing segment, with Roman Reigns and CM Punk, and Punk telling Roman, I'm going to bury you next to your father. And they said that Punk would be here live tonight. Now, I have no idea why they did not mention this in the preview for the show. Yeah, I put the preview together here for the stream early, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And I'm checking WWE.com. I'm checking WWE's Twitter page. They announced 3 things for tonight's show. They announced the Intercontinental Title match. They announced the Gauntlet. And what else did they announce? They announced... There was one other thing they announced. I forgot what the other thing was. Oh, Oba Femi and Rusev. And that was it. And they were without some of their heavy hitters, right? Roman was not on the show. AJ Lee was not on the show. Brock Lesnar was not on the show. You would think that they would let you know that the world heavyweight champion, CM Punk, was going to be on the show. And there was no mention of Punk anywhere in the preview. It was just very odd to me. Because I remember looking at the preview going, this can't be it. And there was no mention of Punk, but they indicated he would be here later on in the show. I don't know why you wouldn't advertise that, but that's what they did. So after a commercial break, they aired the very end, the highlights of the very end of the promo that Natty did during the commercial break. She was being interviewed by Byron Saxton on the stage. And at the very end of her promo, she mentioned Maxine Dupree by name, and she got blasted by Maxine from behind. And that was it. Then it was backstage where OG Americano was walking when he was confronted by Danhausen, who played a pivotal role last week, if you remember, before the IC title match on last week's show. And Danhausen noticed that Americano wore a mask, and he had a great idea. He could wear a mask also. And then he wanted to try Gable's on, and Gable told him, rule numero uno, you don't touch a luchador's mask, he says. He has no time for this because he has a championship match coming up next. So he told Danhausen to leave. And Danhausen said, "You want me to leave? Do you want Danhausen to put a curse on you?" So Danhausen, and so he put a curse on him. And then, of course, Gable turned, and when he turned back, Danhausen was gone. So basically, Danhausen has become the resident spoiler on this show. That is now his role here on WWE television. If he curses you right before a match, you already know the outcome before the match even happens. Only in this case, he never even made it out to the ring. We were supposed to get Penta defending the Intercontinental Championship for the first time after his win over Dom last week against OG Americano. All right, that was the scheduled match. Didn't work out that way. Thankfully, they gave Penta some promo time. I was kind of hoping they would do this. You know, he won the title last week, and I saw that video. I don't know if it was from this past week or if maybe the video was a couple weeks old. The video of him meeting that little kid in the Penta mask backstage at one of the events. That was a really cool video. Like when he shows up and you see, and the kid turns and realizes that the real Penta is there, and that he literally gasps. This kid's got to be like 4 or 5 years old, and he gasps like he's in awe. He can't believe it. And then, you know, Penta's talking to him, and it's like, it's really, really cool. So anyway, I was hoping they would make, you know, a bigger deal about this by letting him get some promo time. Because I remember when he first joined the company, I think his first night, and he beat Chad Gable, funny enough. And then he got to cut a promo in the ring. And I'm like, man, this is a really good promo. Obviously, you know, English is not his first language, but, you know, he can speak it. And he just resonates with the audience in a way that not everybody does. He's obviously very charismatic. He's got this physical charisma about him and this energy and this intensity about him. And the people just like him. And so I'm like, he won the championship. We should hear from him. So he takes the mic and he thanks his family. He thanks his friends, all of his fans around the world. Thanks to everyone who believed in him. And he thanked himself like a heel, because he believes in himself every single day. So, of course, I thank myself every single day, too. So he goes, this title is not just for Penta. It's for everyone who never gives up, because Penta, well, then John Cena is not included. But he goes, there she is. I was wondering. Very upset about her loss earlier. She is calling for Kairi. Is Asuka. Jeremy Rose. Thank you, sir. So anyway, John Cena is not included in this because he is sending this out to all the people out there who never give up. He says Penta represents all of those people. The dreamers. The real life fighters. This title is the result of a lot of hard work. It's the result of a lot of sacrifice. And now and together we will make history, because now he is here as your new Intercontinental Champion. And then he spoke in Spanish and he did his catchphrase. So this was very good. He should have fucking thanked Danhausen is who he should have thanked. Of all the people he thanked here in this promo, he didn't thank the one guy who actually helped him win the championship more than any other. Where was the thank you for Danhausen in all this? So out comes El Grande. But it is, and not just because of the music. You just look at him and you know, it's very clear this is not the OG. This is El Grande Kaiser coming to the ring. And Penta realized it as well. He was complaining to the referee about it. And they went to commercial. So when they came back, they joined the match, already in progress. Michael Cole said the original El Grande Americano was scheduled, but he didn't know what happened to him. And then ahead of another break, Penta had teased a dive through the ropes. But as he went to go through the ropes, he got blasted in the face with a forearm shot. So he tumbled out of the ring. He, hit the apron and went to the floor. And it didn't look like anything out of the ordinary in terms of the bump that he took. But he was immediately grabbing his lower back. So Kaiser goes over to go. Clearly, he was trying to pick him up. And Penta communicated something to him like he might be hurt. So Kaiser left him alone. And they took the camera off Penta. The camera followed Kaiser around to where the little podium was. They had the IC title on it. And he's posing next to it. Like everybody poses next to the Andre the Giant Memorial statue. And they went to a commercial. And I'm just thinking, man, I really hope he's not hurt. They can ill afford another one of these injuries right now. But boy, would that suck. Thankfully, when they came back, Penta seemed okay. Maybe he just tweaked it. So Americano came off the middle rope late in the match. Penta caught him with a code breaker, and he followed that with a Mexican destroyer for the win to retain the championship. Now, I want to just say this first. This is not a knock on Penta. I love Penta. This is not a knock on Kaiser. I think he's very talented. I think the gimmick works very well for him, more so in AAA than it does here in the States on the main roster. Why am I still watching Penta wrestling El Grande Americano in March of 2026? Because this man has been stuck in the Americano vortex for months. If you go back even before the Americano bullshit and you go back to when Penta first debuted at the beginning of last year, he wrestled Chad Gable in his first match. And then he had matches with Ludwig Kaiser when he was still Ludwig Kaiser. And here we are, and I am still watching him in the ring wrestling Gable and wrestling Kaiser with this stupid gimmick every single week, it feels like. Why? Is there no one else in the mid-card on this show for this man to be working with? Now he has a championship, but it's the same song. They added a new lyric, but it's the same fucking song. Why do I feel like when I watch this show, why do I feel like I am watching the same matches over and over and over again like a bad movie? I don't understand. This has to stop. This has to stop. And also, I will say this, not just getting him out of the Americano vortex, but this whole, the whole Americano thing. And again, my hope is that they're going to blow this thing off at WrestleMania as far as between the two of them. They're actually doing a match next week between Americano 1 and Americano 2. But my guess is they're going to stretch this out to Mania and do a mask match on that show. And I hope to God that Gable loses and we can get beyond this for him. Because I'm sick and tired of this too. But the Penta stuff with the Americano, you got to stop. Seriously, this is fucking garbage at this point. Please, for the love of God, I want Penta to go on to have a fruitful reign as the Intercontinental Champion. I want him to work with different people. I want him to elevate that title in a way that Dominic Mysterio never did because he barely defended the title, and when he did, it was always the same bullshit finish with the Judgment Day, and so now it's nice to have the belt on somebody else. But it's only as good as how they book it, right? How do they book this run for him as the Intercontinental Champion? Who do they have him working with? What kind of matches are they having on television every week? You're only as good as the people that they program you with. I want the best for Penta in this run. I want this to be a successful run. I want him to have a title defense at WrestleMania, not against any of these people. Come up with anybody else. But we got to get away from this. This is one of the things about Raw that I hate, is that it just feels like it's like the hamster on the wheel. Like you're running in place and you're not moving. Nothing moves. Nothing happens. We got a Stephanie Vicaire video promo with her speaking in Spanish, and they had English subtitles. And they played this over footage of her when she was a young girl and then when she was training to become a wrestler, talking about the things that Liv Morgan has said about her recently. She said that she sees more in Liv than Liv sees in herself. Liv always takes the easy way. She will bring her blood, sweat, and all of her experience and use it to continue making history as your women's... Thank you, Barry. But she will take all of her blood and sweat and experience and continue to represent as our women's world champion. So they cut back to the Judgment Day Clubhouse. Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, JD McDonough. They're all shown watching the video. And Liv also then tells, and Raquel is sitting there, she's very angry about the loss earlier. And she tells Raquel, don't worry because we're going to get you back in the title picture. So don't worry about it. Dominic Mysterio shows up. And he asks, has anybody seen Finn Balor? McDonough says no, but he'll go find him. And Dom said, look, I'm going to go to the ring. I got to get something off my chest. And so, after the break, off to the ring he went. And it was Dom, it was Liv, it was Raquel. He demanded a rematch with Penta. And the crowd booed. Says, we all know whose fault it is that he lost. And I was like, Danhausen. It was Danhausen's fault. He goes, no, it was Finn Balor's fault. He didn't want to do this out here. He wanted to do it privately, but Balor is making him air their dirty laundry out in front of the world. So Finn Balor comes out. He's got JD McDonough with him, and they join them in the ring. You know what I just realized, by the way? If they were going to shoot this angle and they were going to turn Balor babyface, they probably should have waited a little bit to bring back the music. I mean, I'm glad that he's got his old NXT music back, but probably would have made more sense to hold off on that another month or two. They're all in the ring now, and Dom asks him, where the hell have you been? He says, I hope you're here to tell me that you got me a rematch, right? You talked to Pierce and you got me a rematch. And Balor said, about last week, you're right. You're right. If it wasn't for me, you would still be the Intercontinental Champion right now. So for that, I'm sorry. And the fans booed, but he said, you see, I was trying to teach you a lesson. Judgment Day is a family. We're always going to be family. We're always going to have your back. Dom told him that, he wants to be the greatest Mysterio of all time. That's what you told me. And he can be. But to be the greatest anything of all time, you got to learn that sometimes you got to fight your own battles. For 2 years, he's been trying to help Dom, but the more he helps, the more he tries to lead him in the right direction, the more he realizes that maybe his dad was right. Maybe he is just a spoiled little prick. And Dom pie-faced him. Balor then delivered an overhead Pele kick. Reminded me of when he turned heel many years ago in NXT. Who did he kick in the head? Was it Johnny Gargano? I think it was Johnny Gargano. Like, he's not even looking at Gargano. And then he just kind of up and delivers this overhead kick and kicks, I think it was Johnny, right in the head. So that's what he did here. McDonough then got Balor in the corner. He's trying to talk to him as Dom comes in, and Balor takes him down with a sling blade. So he backs up into the corner. He's setting up for that shotgun drop kick that he does. As Balor comes in, though, JD McDonough takes his head off with a clothesline. And they all look at each other, and Liv Morgan just pounces on Balor, and she's, throwing punches at him. And then Raquel joins in, and she starts kicking Balor. And then McDonough and Dom, they start putting the boots to Balor. And then it becomes very clear that this is the big angle that we've been waiting for so long for, right? How long have we been waiting and speculating on when something like this was going to happen? So they're all putting the boots to him. Dom goes to retrieve a steel chair and the ring bell hammer from outside. He brings it inside. Balor starts to fight back. Dom, though, smashes him right in the face with the hammer. Then he shoved the hammer into his sneaker. And McDonough sets Balor up in the ropes in position for a 619. And Dom delivers a 619, sending the hammer once again into Balor's face. So then they position Balor near the corner, and Dom goes up top, and he delivers a frog splash. So then Dom picks up the chair. He hands it to JD, who drives it down numerous times into Balor's midsection. And then he lays it flat across Balor's chest, and Dom comes off the top with one more frog splash for good measure. And the remaining members of the Judgment Day are all celebrating in the ring together as Finn Balor lays there dead. Finally, we got some real movement with the Judgment Day. And now we can begin to build to Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio, or some variation of that. Again, potentially maybe even involving JD McDonough, but probably Balor and Dom one-on-one at WrestleMania. My guess is we get Balor and Dom, and Balor is going to enter as the Demon, because they'll think bringing back the Demon is going to be a big deal, and they can make money off the Demon. That's probably what we'll end up getting at WrestleMania. And Finn Balor is now back to being a babyface. Now, we shouldn't be surprised by this, because not just because we're heading into WrestleMania, but because the stuff with CM Punk is what set this up. He had the match in Belfast with Punk. They had a good match. When it was over, right, they kind of paid respect to each other. That bothered Liv Morgan. What are you doing palling around and listening to CM Punk? CM Punk was trying to tell Balor, look, you don't need these guys. You don't need these idiots. And that didn't make Liv Morgan very happy. So then Balor, of course, he attacked Punk again after that. That's why we got the rematch at Elimination Chamber. And the same thing, when the match was over, Balor lost. And they shook hands and showed respect to one another. So the seeds were already being planted for this to happen, right? The Balor babyface turn. We could see this coming for at least a couple of months now. So it's a very simple angle. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen these types of angles before. It was simple, but it was effective, and it gets us now to where we need to be. And I guess the question now is, as far as the future of the Judgment Day is concerned, do they end up adding a new member? I don't think they're going to end the Judgment Day anytime soon. I mean, I thought about, would they, because Balor's out, Raquel, it feels like she's not long for the Judgment Day. And then you're down to Liv and Dom and JD. I don't think they want to end the Judgment Day. And I'm not sure if I were them, I would want to end the Judgment Day either, because it's weird. Like, as tiresome as it sometimes feels, the Judgment Day has actually been, and we know how effective the Bloodline was, right? It's shining a light on Jey Uso and Sami Zayn when he was part of the group, and introducing Solo Sikoa, right? It was a very important faction as far as character building and getting other people over other than just Roman Reigns, other members of the family. The Judgment Day has introduced us to a lot of new personalities as well. And the Judgment Day is what really helped Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. And it put Finn Balor in a position where he could be featured in a way that he wasn't being featured. And then Liv Morgan eventually went from Rhea and Dom to Dom and Liv. And it has been very effective at getting certain people screen time and getting them over in a way that, frankly, they would not have been able to get over on their own. JD McDonough would not be in the position he's in right now. And again, I'm not making it sound like he's a main eventer, but even just the position that he's in, he would not be in that position right now if it wasn't for him being a part of the Judgment Day. Raquel Rodriguez. Remember when Raquel was a babyface? And she was coming out on TV and her big thing was smile for the camera and then flex your back, right? Flex your back, show your back muscles, and that's all she was. What am I supposed to cheer for? What am I supposed to get behind there? Plain Jane. And she goes heel. She joins the Judgment Day. And the thing with the Judgment Day is they get so many segments on this show every single week. Multiple segments. So I would probably just cycle in and out new members and try to do the same thing with some other people that they've done with people like the ones I just mentioned and try to help get them over. I even said, and I don't know if this, I don't think this is what they have in mind, but even someone like Danhausen, like I could see Danhausen even being loosely affiliated with the Judgment Day. I guess right now he's doing his own thing, going from show to show, but I think you just got to look at the roster and look at some potential NXT call-ups and figure out who do you think would best benefit by being plugged into the Judgment Day. As members come and go, Balor's out now. Do they replace him with someone? And if so, who is that person? Yeah, I keep thinking about Ethan Page because he recently lost his championship, North American Championship, and I think the AAA mixed tag belts as well. And there's talk that now he's going to be wrestling. He's going to be part of the NXT Championship picture. And it's like, man, this guy's been in NXT for over 2 years now. Like, are they ever going to call him up to the main roster? I still maintain there's stuff you could do with him and Chelsea on SmackDown. But I do think that someone like him could even benefit, from being like the new de facto leader of the Judgment Day. But I mean, we could be here all day. There's any number of people you could plug into that spot. So it probably makes sense for them to continue it. I'm just not sure exactly who they would have in mind for it. But we got to start thinking about new members because I don't think Balor is going to be the only one going away. I think Raquel is going to be following soon. Backstage, Adam Pearce was talking to Javon Evans and praising him and, his participation recently in the Elimination Chamber. And he told him, enjoy the rest of your week. He's got the week off, apparently. Pearce left and he's like, I'm off. I got the week off. If I was told that I was going to be able, like when I used to work out of the office, if I was told, hey, you got the day off, I would be over the moon. I'd be like, oh my God, that's great. I don't have to wake up in the morning. I don't have to go into work. It's fucking great. You flew this guy cross country to tell him that he has the week off. You made this man fly cross country to tell him that you have nothing for him. You're doing a great job, but you got the week off. You know how much that would piss me off? especially with the shit show that is the TSA and all these airports right now. If you made me fly all the way across the country to tell me that when you could have called me up on the phone or sent me a text message, I would not be very happy. But Pierce left, and as Adam Pierce left, Kofi Kingston and Grayson Waller showed up. This is now what is left of the New Day. This is what's left of the Vision, Logan Paul and Austin Theory, and now with Xavier Woods being hurt with the shoulder, we have Kofi Kingston and Grayson Waller. So Waller started to talk to Javon, and Kofi told him, look, leave us. So Waller left, and Kofi told Evans, look, I think the two of us got off on the wrong foot the other week. Fact is, I see a lot of myself in you. Like I was you. He was that kid back in the day when he was first starting and doing all these moves that nobody else was doing. And he took all of that. And eventually he became the WWE champion. He just needs to have the right team around him, does Javon. So he told Evans, look, you don't have to answer right now. Take some time to think about it. He knows he's got dreams and he doesn't have to do it alone. So Javon Evans has something to think about. Javon Evans has to give some thought to whether or not he wants to join what has become a jobber faction here on this show that barely gets any actual television time. They spend most of their time talking and appearing and doing stuff and cutting promos during the commercial breaks on this show, and not actually wrestling and doing really anything of note on Monday Night Raw itself. So, man, what a tough decision that's going to be for Javon Evans to make. There was a point in time where, hey, joining the New Day would have been huge for Javon Evans. I think joining the New Day now would be more of a detriment than anything else to his career. Speaking of factions, by the way, that just have gone on and on forever and probably should be put to bed, I think we could probably do that with the New Day at this point. Elsewhere, Jackie Redmond is with Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. She says that Bayley will challenge AJ Lee next week. And Bayley thanked Lyra for being there for her. Bayley says it's going to be an honor to step in the ring with one of her best friends. And it's a title that she hasn't been able to win yet. She can't wait to get her hands on it. And you know what? She promised Lyra, when I win the championship, you're going to get the first shot. I don't think that's something that she's going to have to worry about. But that's the promise that she made her tag team partner. Yeah, the women's Bliss fan, that's actually a good point. I thought that as well. During the gauntlet, they had that same little podium at ringside, and they had the women's Intercontinental title on the podium, even though AJ Lee is the champion and she was not there tonight. They had her title, so they could put it on the podium, even though AJ was not there. That was very weird. I agree. We had Oba Femi against Rusev, a rare Rusev match here on Monday Night Raw. All he wanted to do when he left AEW was work. He left because he just wanted to go out there and wrestle. He's wrestling right now for WWE about as much as he was wrestling for AEW. Maybe slightly more. He got 3 minutes of match time tonight. That's something, right? Hey. Rusev got knocked outside. He got sent into the steps. He ended up bouncing Oba, though, off the post head first. So Rusev then hit a Machka kick that sent Oba backwards onto the announce desk. Back inside, Oba made a comeback. He tossed Rusev halfway across the ring. And then he hit the fall from grace for the quick, decisive win in about 3 minutes. Not much else to say about this. It was exactly what it needed to be. It was a quick, dominant win for Oba Femi, and this time it wasn't against Kit Wilson. It was against someone that, has a little more size on him, is a little bit tougher than Kit Wilson, and he got beat in 3 minutes. And I can only hope that this is, again, building to the obvious WrestleMania match here. I talked about it last week, talked about it again on Sunday. There's a very clever, simple way to get to Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar, right? You have this outstanding open challenge. Who's going to accept the open challenge? And Brock's going to be on the show a few times this month. It doesn't have to be next week. It could be, again, they're at Madison Square Garden later this month. It could be there. They want to do something special in New York. But man, you know, you gotta do something with Danhausen and Brock Lesnar, right? We need some Brockhausen humor. And Brock would even laugh it off. Like he's done before with R-Truth, right? And what has Danhausen been doing when people disrespect him, right? He puts a curse on them. He puts a curse on Brock Lesnar. Then and only then do we hear the drum beat of Oba Femi's theme music. And his bad luck is Oba Femi coming out to accept the open challenge. And now you got a few weeks to promote this as a big WrestleMania match, right? Don't wait until Mania, right? Do it in the next few weeks. But that's how you get Danhausen worked in there. Like, just the sight of Danhausen sharing a ring with Brock Lesnar is so ludicrous that you can't help but laugh. But then Brock won't be laughing when Oba Femi comes out, right? That's the power of the curse. There you go. Clearly they want the curse to mean something. Well, that's how you use the curse. And so to close the show, we got the World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk, out to the ring. He was a little unsure, he said, what the reaction to him was going to be after last week. So he was very happy to get cheered by the fans here in Seattle. And then he asked them, how about them Seahawks? Now he's trying too hard. But they all chanted Seahawks. He goes, there's some people upset over something that he said last week. That it was disrespectful. One thing he knows is that Roman Reigns has never respected him once his entire career. But he will force him to respect the position that he holds. He says championships are made to find out who the best is. And those best go on to defend their titles. This title here was created, and I like that he made this point actually, because this is actually very true. This title was created because Roman Reigns shunned his championship responsibilities and he refused to defend his titles. If you remember, when Roman was in the middle of that forever run that he had, very rarely would we see him on Monday Night Raw. He was walking around with both belts after he had basically unified them at WrestleMania 38. And Raw had no champion. For all intents and purposes, Raw had no champion. That was the whole genesis of the current version of the World Heavyweight Championship, was because Roman Reigns wasn't around. And they needed something to fight for on Monday Night Raw. He's right about that. So that was Roman, but he defends this championship because the fans deserve a fighting champion. And when he does, he levels up the competition. Everybody who steps in the ring with him or gets on the mic with him, he forces them to level up. If you don't, he'll leave you slack-jawed the way he did Roman Reigns last week. Unfortunately, last week he lowered himself to Roman's level. And before he could say anything else, Jey Uso's music hit. And this was not about yeeting or anything. This was the Usos coming down to the ring, down the aisle, not through the crowd. And they were looking serious and stoic, and they got into the ring. No running it back this time. And Jey Uso told Punk, and Jey, it's funny, when Jey is in there and he's all serious, he screams. Like, he cuts his promo in like the highest decibel level that you can imagine. And so he's screaming at Punk, you need to apologize right now. Apologize right now, Us. And Punk asked why Roman is still sending his cousins out there to do his heavy lifting. So Jey screamed at him, I came out here my damn self. And again, he told Punk he better apologize. So Jimmy was a little calmer. Jimmy is actually a very good promo, right? We don't get to hear him cut a serious promo very often. Jay's the one who goes out there and yeets and gets the whole crowd to yeet with him. But I think Jimmy is actually an underrated promo. So Jimmy said that this has everything to do with respect. He says, he got a whole lot of respect for you, Phil. I really do. Mainly because you call yourself the voice of the voiceless. You can speak trash about Roman all you want to, but what you did was disrespect their late uncle who has no voice. So apologize. Punk said, you're right. Your brother's coming in a little bit hot, but you're right. Sika does not have a voice. He says he's not spiritual. Punk's not a spiritual guy, but he knows the Usos are. So he asked the Usos, do you think that Sika can hear this? And Jimmy says, yeah. And Punk says he respects Sika. He didn't know him as well as Afa when he was coming up in the business, right? He would drive down to where Afa would, train, and he had his promotion. And Afa was always generous to him when he was younger. He damn near babysat Lance on Hawaii while the shows were going on. He respects everyone in their family, and they have shown him respect back, except that one son of a bitch. If you think Sika heard that, then you believe he can see. And he sees exactly what Punk sees, which is what a lying, conniving, backstabbing, gaslighting, egotistical, plastic politician his son Roman Reigns is. So this just made Jay even madder. And Jay screams, this ain't about Roman Reigns. We need you to say, I'm sorry. The best Jay Uso promos are the ones that are very short and to the point. I like it when he shows this intensity like this. But Jay Uso is not a promo guy. So the less you give him to say, if he says it in a very intense, serious way, that is when Jay Uso on the mic is at his best. Otherwise, it's just a disaster. So the fans chanted, say you're sorry to CM Punk. And Punk shook Jimmy's hand and he said, I'm sorry. And then he shook Jay's hand and he said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that Roman Reigns treated the two of you and the rest of his family and the bloodline like garbage for years and never once apologized for doing so, which is 100% true. This is the point that I made when Roman came back as a babyface. And even going into WrestleMania last year, and everyone was cheering him, right? OTC, OTC. And I'm like, nothing has changed about Roman Reigns. Like the guy that they were all booing before and that treated his family like crap is the same Roman Reigns that we see on TV now. Like, he has not changed. Nothing changed. The catchphrase, OTC, that's the only thing that changed. He's the same guy. He's a jerk. He used his family and abused his family and never once apologized for doing so. So again, Punk, speaking only facts here in this promo. He said, I'm sorry that Roman disrespected one of his mentors, Cody's father, the great American dream Dusty Rhodes, when he called him irrelevant. And he's somehow not on the hook for apologizing, but I am. He's sorry that Roman Reigns has tricked the Usos and the rest of their family and all these fans into believing that he gives a single damn about any of them or any of this, because if he did, he would be standing in the ring talking to him right now and not his young boys. And he slammed the mic into Jay's chest. Jay gave him a shove back, and then Jimmy dropped Punk with a right hand right to the ear. So Jimmy had to hold Jay back at that point. They both leave the ring very slowly, and they're looking down at Punk, who's on the mat. He's looking up at them with a smirk on his face, and that is how the show went off the air. This was, I thought, a very strong segment, considering Roman wasn't there. Obviously, this stuff is at its best when we get Punk and Roman in the ring together. We'll get that hopefully next week. But in the absence of Roman Reigns, they found a way to keep this personal, because Roman has family members obviously all over this show, all over this company, by having the Usos go out there and actually be serious for a change, right? They weren't out there to yeet and have fun and smile and again, do all the things that the Usos do from week to week. They were serious. They had something serious that they could really sink their teeth into. And to me, that's when really they're at their best. I like the callback to Roman calling Dusty irrelevant. I believe he said that to Cody's face in a promo a few years ago. So I like that callback and Punk pointing out, like, it's okay for Roman to do that, but I make a comment about his father, and apparently the whole world is ready to burn down. Like, little hypocrisy there. But again, I think what I also liked about it is the fact that both sides were right. Both sides made good points about the other. The Usos were not wrong in what they said about Punk, and Punk was not wrong in what he said about Roman. And why he didn't feel the need to apologize. So when it was over, I was left thinking, okay, are we setting up a bloodline reunion at the end of WrestleMania? Which would feel like we're just going backwards here. I know some people get very excited about this. Oh, the band is back together. It's like, fucking, DX reuniting in 2006 all over again. To me, to go back to that would be very lazy. I hope that's not what the idea is here, but I could see it because again, Triple H, he sort of inherited the Bloodline story. It was under the Vince administration. We already had the Bloodline. Triple H inherited what was a hot story at that time, right? The top angle, the top group in the company. He took the reins, no pun intended. He took the reins and kind of ran with it and was able to build to that epic conclusion of WrestleMania 40. And really, it's all been downhill since then. He still has yet to find that one great story since the peak of the Bloodline angle at WrestleMania in Philadelphia. He's still searching for it. 2 years later, he's still searching for it. So all that stuff was great, but just to kind of go back to it would just feel like a retread at this point. So I don't know if that's what the idea is here. I don't know if other family members are going to be brought into this. No, I don't think we're going to see The Rock. I don't think that means we're going to see The Rock on television. But I thought it was a very good closing segment here that now leads into Roman's return, another return, on the show next week. And we'll see what they do then. Because Roman obviously looked very angry at the end of Raw last week. So what is the receipt now that he will have for CM Punk? Is he going to bring up Larry the dog? Is he gonna try to cut deep with Larry the dog? Yeah, it was very sad because they posted on the WWE YouTube channel the other day. It was a vlog with CM Punk and AJ Lee. I think it was in Chicago. They followed them around, like a 5-minute video, but it was in the lead up to Elimination Chamber. And one of the things they showed was they stopped over at Pause Chicago, which I think is the I don't know what is Pause. It's a rescue. I believe it's a dog rescue. But that's where they got Larry 10 or 11 years ago, whatever it was. So they're there and AJ is like looking at all these dogs and everything. And they're not there to get a new dog yet because they're still obviously, mourning the loss of Larry. But like as AJ is talking and then they're back in the car and AJ is talking and smiling and I want to have a farm one day with like 20 dogs and all this. Punk is very quiet. And like you could see it in his eyes, like he's just devastated. Like his eyes are all red and like it's still a very raw thing for him to even talk about Larry. He got like a Larry paw print tattoo right dead center in his chest. So, if they choose to go in that direction, it's like, it's still an open wound for the guy. Obviously, if he's okay with it, then so be it. We'll probably get to see Punk shed some real tears on TV if that happens. But you would imagine that Roman is gonna want to smack back, and he's gonna have a receipt for him next week, right? Oh, you want to come at me with that and talk about my father, huh? Okay, well, two can play at that game. So I'm very curious exactly what Roman's retort is going to be on the show next week. But this and the Bloodline angle were the two key things on the show. The rest of the show just kind of felt like it was there, honestly. I mean, the gauntlet was fine. But I'm still waiting for, outside of this, I'm waiting for everything else to start feeling like WrestleMania. Nothing else is really clicking in that way. I'm hoping when we get Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton in the ring on Friday, that will start to really feel like, okay, this is a WrestleMania main event now. Because that's a match I've been waiting for them to do now for so long. And now we have it. We know the history between them. The key is taking that and creating a story out of it now as we go into WrestleMania, right? There's no story per se at the moment with Cody and Randy. We've had teases over the last couple of years with Randy staring at the belt and all that. But now you have to tie that all together and tell an actual story going into Mania. And it could be as simple as, look, you and I go way back and I love you and I respect you, but I need that 15th World Championship. This is only going to be, I think, the second or third WrestleMania main event in Randy Orton's career. And I don't remember the last time he was a world champion. It's been many years, right? And he'll do whatever it takes. Just like Stone Cold going into WrestleMania X7. I'll do whatever it takes to take that title. And Cody, who just won the belt back, his goal is to make sure I'm not letting this thing leave my side ever again. I just got it back. I'm not letting it go. I'm not making the same mistake I made last year in the ring with John Cena. Could be as simple as that. And then people in their minds wondering as we go into Mania, who's going to pull the trigger first? Who, if anyone, is going heel at the end of that match. But they have to really start to tell that story on SmackDown this week. Because right now, Punk and Roman is still the one match that's really carrying the build to the show. On a show that is rumored to potentially end up having up to 16 matches. 14 to 16 matches, somewhere in that range. They got to get things going here. I mean, these two guys, they can't carry this whole thing by themselves. So that's what I'm waiting. We're 6 weeks away now. T-minus 6 weeks. I'm waiting for all these other stories to start really kicking in. What did you think of Raw from Seattle? 64% thumbs up for tonight's show. And roughly 36% thumbs down. With over 1,000 votes in so far. Go ahead and vote. At Solomonster on X, and let me know what you thought of tonight's Raw show. There it is. Basic Solonomics. Hey, Edkin. Thank you for the $2. Would be in for the Bloodline against Punk and friends at Madison Square Garden. What friends does Punk have? He was friends with the Usos. If the Usos are against him, then what friends does CM Punk have? What friends are you referring to? Is LA Knight his friend? Seth Rollins is certainly not his friend. CM Punk has no friends on this show. Danhausen is his friend. They're not doing CM Punk and Danhausen against the Bloodline. That will not happen. Legitimately, Danhausen is probably the first name that popped into my head as far as CM Punk friends. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention something here. There was not a single mention on the show tonight of Gunther. He was not on the show. He was not mentioned. There was no hint or tease of what's next for him. And we are less than 6 weeks away from WrestleMania. Gunther, the man who retired John Cena and CM Punk, AJ Styles back to back. Seemingly nothing for him at WrestleMania. Maybe he'll wrestle Rey Mysterio. We'll see, but neither one of them were on the show tonight. Where was he? Bad enough we don't have Roman and Brock, and we have people that don't appear on the show week to week. I was asking the question, what the hell are they doing with Io Sky at WrestleMania? What the hell are they doing with Gunther at WrestleMania? How do you not have something rock solid already hinted at and teased and lined up for him on the biggest show of the year? How does that happen? How does he fall through the cracks like that? Almost forgot to mention that. Hey, Joseph Stewart. Dropping some love here on the streams. I appreciate all the $4.99 chats here, Joseph. Happy Monday to you as well, sir. I'm starting to think Danhausen may have put a curse on Gunther. It says Arnold Schwarzenegger announced that he is coming back to play Conan in the movies about Conan as King, which will take place after Conan the Destroyer. I mean, Arnold is, he's looking more like Gandalf at this point. I don't know about another Conan movie. Where do you put Gunther at this point? Do you want where do I think he'll be put, or where would I like to see him put? Where do I think he'll be put? Probably Rey Mysterio after what he did with pulling the mask off Dragon Lee last week. Where would I like to see him put? In a match with Ilya Dragunov. And they're on separate brands. It doesn't even make any sense. I don't give a shit. Just put them in the ring together. Just put them in the ring together. Let them go out there for fucking 15 minutes and just beat the crap out of each other. They'll steal the entire weekend. They'll steal the whole show. I don't know what else you do. It says Arnold also announced he's coming back to play for Commando 2, a sequel to the first Commando movie. Yes, I know Commando 2 is a sequel to the first Commando movie. Also, I don't understand why Jack Perry gets so much hate from wrestling fans. He is the son of Luke Perry. Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything? Who gives a shit? I don't see what one thing has to do with the other. Was I a fan of Beverly Hills 90210? No. Why do they call wrestling a soap opera? Well, they call it a male soap opera because of all the drama. There's a lot of drama involved. Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter? Mortal Kombat. And Tony Soprano and The Sopranos is the answer to your next batch of questions. Masters of the Universe or Batman the Animated Series? Masters of the Universe. And the Flintstones. That was my jam. I took the vitamins too when I was younger. Get big and strong. Can't you tell? Happy belated birthday to Freddie Prinze Jr. And have a great week. And take care. Thank you, Joseph. Happy belated birthday to Freddie Prinze Jr. He didn't say how old he is. Wonder if he's older or younger than me. Death Scythe says, how is this for an alternate WrestleMania X7 scenario? It's TLC 2. The Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian are in the ring, but Demolition are added to the match as a surprise. Who goes over? That would be a terrible idea. Demolition? In 2001? In a TLC match? Are you out of your mind? Bill Eadie was old in 1990. You want to put him in a TLC match in 2001? If you want to kill Demolition, then sure. I'm the biggest Demolition fan you're going to find, and that is just that's a terrible idea. I would definitely not be doing that. I care too much for their well-being to put them in that situation. Oh, man. All right, let's reload this here. Got a bunch of super chats here. Death Scythe, thank you. St. Clair says, if Brock Lesnar stays until WrestleMania 21, what changes? I imagine we don't get JBL, but does that impact Cena? And does Randy still become the youngest world champion? Randy Orton absolutely does not become the youngest world champion. The only reason he became the youngest world champion was to wipe the record that Brock Lesnar had, because he was on the outs and he was persona non grata in WWE. John Cena still goes on to become a big star. Just I think it takes a little bit longer. It will take a little bit longer, I think, for John Cena to get to where he ultimately was going to end up regardless. Death Scythe, when CM Punk talks about Roman's family, he talks about the Final Boss's family. Yes, and we are not going to see the Final Boss. Paul Hamilton again with that $100 bomb. Gotta give him the siren there. Thank you, Solomonster. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you. And there's Cool Bro with a $4.99. Thank you, Cool Bro. Alexander, I'm curious if Roxanne will turn face with Finn. I'm going to say no. I don't think they're going to pair her off with Finn. Is she going to have an issue with what they did to Finn? Maybe. There could be some tension there, but I don't see her aligning with Finn. Also, Danhausen should curse Cornette's podcast. Yes. Danhausen should put a curse on Cornette's podcast and make it drop all the way down to number 14. So I can have the number 1 spot all to myself. Hey, Arabian Night, thank you. By the way, we easily surpassed the goal tonight. The goal was 515, and we're currently sitting at 609. Man, you guys were like, we can beat that. We're 2 away from the bonus goal, by the way. If you check the chat. Death Scythe, CM Punk once said to John Cena when he came back to WWE, he had a list of goals and winning a world title was not one of them because he was afraid of the monster he would become. Well, look at him now. Is he really a monster, though? because he said a mean thing to Roman Reigns last week. He's actually been pretty tame. I wouldn't say CM Punk has really done anything too dastardly. You know, he hasn't punched any of his coworkers in the face backstage or anything like that, or tried to choke them. San Juan Wolf with a 1999. If I were The Miz, I would bring Danhausen into the fold as my secret weapon. Imagine him cursing every opponent just so I could coast to easy wins. Might even mess around and end up with the world title that way. You realize The Miz went through, I believe, all of 2025 without winning a single match? If I were him, I would hitch my wagon to Danhausen too. CM Punk fan 500. I was at Raw. I thought it was a good show. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Retro KOH. Apparently Seth's new gimmick is that he has a putty patrol. Just what we need. That's what we need. More ninjas on this show. Derek J. Speaks with a $5 super chat. Seeing over a dozen grown-ass men in hoodies and masks shuffling around is not how I wanted to spend a Monday night. That is the state of WWE in 2026. Well, that's how it goes. That's what you are going to get. Death Scythe says, every time I hear or see a ninja, I immediately think of Reptile, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. Sub-Zero was always my guy. I always liked, doing the whole, like, puddle on the floor and making them slip. That was my thing. The average grunt got the masked goofs dancing around like the Buddy Patrol. Oh, Alexander. The IC belt needs to go on Ivy at some point to have a feud with Zoe Stark, but it's probably not going to draw like Becky or AJ Lee or Io. No, it's not going to draw at all. But that really is what the championship should be designed for, is to try to, be used in a way that will elevate other people on the show who really need the elevation. It can't just be on big names forever. I was in favor of putting it on a big name to establish it, but at some point, other people need to have a shot here. That's why it was created. Jeremy Rose, $20 super chat. Sammy will insert himself in Jacob, and he will insert himself in I read that wrong. Let's start over again. Sammy will insert himself in Jacob and Drew's match. There we go. Thinking he has something to prove, as he says he can beat both of them. Cross returns at WrestleMania and convinces Sammy to give in and cheat to get the win. Long-term storytelling. Now, he has a laughing emoji before anybody who hears this thinks he's out of his mind. Hey, look, Sami Zayn, he's desperate to get on the WrestleMania card. And so, hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. Sometimes you just got to insert yourself into certain situations. He wants to get that WrestleMania payday. Tokes Kazim. I'm afraid Triple H is going to screw up Oba Femi. Well, if he does, it'll be the biggest fumble of his run so far. Jeremy Rose, watching Obi Rusev. No way he beats Brock at WrestleMania. Hope I'm wrong. Danhausen is awesome. Hopefully they insert him in Punk. Hopefully they insert him in Punk Roman promos. But they won't. What is wrong with me? A lot of insertion going on the show tonight. Oh, look at that. We hit the goal. Bonus Be the Booker. All right. We got 2 rounds of Be the Booker coming. Yeah, like Obi. Yeah, Oba Femi. Is that his twin brother? Barry MK with a 15. I know Danhausen is just for jokes, but why isn't Dom mad at him too? Finn was nice to Danhausen when Dom was cursed. Could have been a story to a Finn and Danhausen versus JD, I guess JD and Dom tag match at WrestleMania. Well, I mean, who says it still can't be? I don't think that's the role they have in mind for Danhausen. I think Danhausen will be, he'll be doing comedy at WrestleMania. Maybe he'll host WrestleMania. I could see him hosting WrestleMania this year, which would be kind of wild to see. Tokes Kazim, I did not like the fans popping. I did not like the fans pop for Oba Femi tonight. I mean, they cheered him. Again, the fans on these shows are not popping for much. This has been going on for a few months now. All the people that would normally be there shouting and making noise, they can't afford to go to these shows. They've priced them out. They're like, yeah, fuck this. I got to try to afford gas. I can't be going to Monday Night Raw and paying these exorbitant prices here. Alexander says, what if Ricky Saints joins the Judgment Day? I mean, there's got to be good reason for it. Randomly joins the Judgment Day? I mean, he could. He could. Just wondering what the situation would be that would present itself where he would join the Judgment Day. Hey, Aesthetic, thank you for the 5. Arabian Night, Finlay replacing Finn would have been perfect, but nope, they offered him an NXT deal. But Motor City Machine Guns, Tama, Tongaloa, Jeff Cobb, Hikuleo, Hobbs, and Danhausen got main roster spots. Yeah, they wanted David Finlay to be the leader of a new second-generation faction that would have included Lexis King. Making NXT money, by the way, not even main roster money. Yeah, fuck that. I would have said no, too. Prince Vegeta, I can't wait to see Chili McFreeze next week. Yep, no mention of Stone Cold Steve Austin. It is 3/16 day. They're in Texas. Austin's in the new video game, the Attitude Era Edition. It'd be a nice surprise, but they did not announce anything for Stone Cold next week. Death Scythe. Buy or sell on these 2 heel versus heel matches. The Shield against the Wyatt family at Elimination Chamber, or Brock Lesnar against Daniel Bryan at Survivor Series. Both great matches. I'm going to go Shield and Wyatt's. But I love both those matches very much. SMG Kobe. If Bloodline Reunion means no more MFTs, then do it. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure an OG reunion would necessarily include Solo Sikoa. I don't think the MFTs are going away. Ed K says, would be in for Bloodline versus Punk and friends at MSG. Again, I ask you, what friends are you referring to? Punk has no friends. Death Scythe, I know a chairs match is a dumb stipulation, but it would be perfect for Seth and Roman. Well, we're not doing Seth and Roman anytime soon. At some point, it is. You're right in the first part of your sentence. It's a dumb stipulation. If they want to use a chair, you can use a chair. I think a chairs match, because every match basically involves chairs in wrestling. You're right about that. It is a very dumb stipulation. Seth Rollins and his Foot Clan from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think Seth will come out next week with a giant hole in his midsection and fucking Krang sitting in there. Any chance they run Brock against Rollins against Knight? No. Brock is going to be in a singles match against one or the other, maybe, but not both of them. Nor should, and that's a stupid match. Brendan Stranahan, Punk and Motor City Machine Guns against OG Bloodline and Madison Square Garden, maybe. What has led you to believe that the Motor City Machine Guns would even be considered for a spot like that? Like, do you see the way they're being used on SmackDown when they are on SmackDown? They're so low on the totem pole right now, like they're not even a factor in their minds. It's not even a consideration. I wish I could say otherwise, but I can't. Alex, Brother Solo, assuming it is Rock and Roman at next year's WrestleMania, how the hell does WWE convince Rock to make TV appearances leading up to WrestleMania? Look, at the end of the day, if the Saudis throw a bunch of money at Rock, who the hell knows what's going to happen? I don't see it. I don't see it. And Rock is not going to be making very many appearances on TV, which is one of the reasons why I have no interest in seeing it. So I'm going to say no to that match. I'm going to say no. It doesn't happen. Jeremy, why wouldn't Gunther answer Brock's challenge? Make it make sense. Usos versus The Vision or Vision versus Seth and LA Knight? I mean, you would think they would want the Usos defending those titles at WrestleMania. If so, then it would be against The Vision. I mean, it's not like Logan Paul's not going to have a match on that show. What else would it be? Hydrograd with a 15. With Finn out of the Judgment Day, every member Edge brought into the group 4 years ago is now gone. Also, what the hell was with that fruity-ass mosh pit that the masked men started doing in the ring? Apparently, they're putty people. I don't know. It was a very dumb idea. I hope that does not become a weekly thing. And the fact that when the masked men hit the ring that we got holy shit chants. Yeah, these are not the wrestling crowds of even 5 years ago. Let alone 25 years ago. Cool, bro. Did you hear about the big sale at the paddle store? It was quite the ordeal.
You suck.
You deserve that one. Sorry, brother. Arabian Night. So all Knight did was run in and got beat up. Yes. How many times do I have to tell you guys? This is what his role is on the show. Last week, he got to drive the ambulance off with Paul Heyman in it. Okay, good for him. But like the week before that, he threw out the challenge to a 6-man tag, and then he got his ass kicked, and his team lost. This is what he does. Cornell Bryant, 1999. Says, nice setting you have here, sir. Very therapeutic. I have no control over that, Cornell. I don't know why you're asking me about another channel. There's nothing I can do right now for you. You can hang out here with us. And maybe we could try to make something happen. But right now, my hands are tied right now. Justin G. Rollins, sharp-dressed wrestling ninjas. Oh, man. Fox. With a $9.99. Do you think people are realizing the greatness?
Off is a direction you can fuck.
Luis was not happy with that question. That's right, Cornell. Bros. We're all bros, Cornell. Don't worry about it. But Fox says, do you think people are realizing the greatness of Danhausen now? Who didn't know him until the last pay-per-view? I know I have, and now I want his shirt and scream, "You are cursed." Can you scream, "You are cursed"? Can I scream at 12:30 in the morning? No, I can't scream. I can tell you that you are cursed. I have put the Solomonster curse on you. I actually have a voodoo doll. I have put curses on people before. And they usually work. But I like you, so I won't put a real curse on you. But yeah, look, I mean, look at the position that Danhausen is in now, right? He's front and center on WWE television. He's getting more exposure now than he ever has in his entire life. I think he's perfect for these shows. He fits right in with that kind of comedy that they love on these shows. And he's going to make a lot of money off all of his merch. Alex says, in 98, Undertaker throwing Mankind off the Hell in a Cell got the holy shit chance. In 2026, a bunch of men wearing all black playing musical chairs gets the same chant. I said, look, these wrestling crowds are not, they're just not what they used to be. I say wrestling crowds. These WWE crowds. These WWE crowds are not what they used to be. And it's not entirely their fault. Some of it's their fault when they chant stupid shit like that, but it's not entirely their fault. Just look at the product they're being given. Presto changeo. Hope Punk wins at Mania. Don't want part-time champion. I agree. We're on the same wavelength here. Give me backshot Solomonster says, when are you going to live up to my name? I think you want to talk to the guy a few super chats ago who was talking about Sammy inserting himself into various people. I think you two might get along. Combat Theater says, will Logan Paul be a future world champion, do you think? Yes. I do. John says, I had the opportunity to attend a Mortal Kombat 2 screening for work. I can confirm it's actually pretty incredible. Great action, great emotion, and a lot of fun. I'm very happy to hear that because I do plan on seeing that movie when it comes out. I'm actually excited to see it. It was supposed to come out months ago, and it got pushed back to May. And hopefully it doesn't get pushed back again because I want to see it. Duff's Vids with a $4.99. Finn needs to have Danhausen with him and have him curse all of his opponents so Finn never gets pinned again. And Luis with the $22 super chat. So this is the way Judgment Day says off is the direction you can fuck to Finn Balor. Says not liking this at all. Glad Punk got everything off his chest. Rock return is imminent. Rock return is not imminent. We go through this every year. Every year we hear about The Rock. The Rock's going to come back. Oh, The Rock's going to be doing this. The Rock's going to be a part of that. The Rock will eventually show up when The Rock feels like showing up. The Rock does not need to be involved in everything. The Rock is not going to be around. Therefore, I don't really care to see it. We can move on. It's time to move on. Cornell, have you finally seen the Ricky Sosa kid wrestle yet? What's your thoughts? Because the bidding war is starting to begin for his talents. I have seen some of his work, not too much of it. He's very talented. I believe he's going to be doing something with TNA, right? TNA soon. But we got him coming into House of Glory soon. So yes, I am familiar with him. Although I don't know that we could afford the bidding war that there will be for Ricky Sosa. And Hydrograd says buy or sell. Undertaker against Batista at WrestleMania 23 or Undertaker against Edge at WrestleMania 24. Undertaker and Batista at WrestleMania 23. Gets my vote. No bidding war for EC3. What do you think this is? 2011? What are you in a time warp? We're way beyond that now. All right, well, the goal as set by the wheel tonight was 5:15. Was it 5:15? Yes, it was 5:15. And we are currently sitting at 658. So you blew right past that. And you guys have killed it with the super chats and all the questions and the love. And we hit the bonus goal. So we have not one but 2 rounds of Be the Booker to do. So let's get to it, shall we? It is Be the Booker time.
It is now time to Be the Booker.
That control your narrative didn't help him. Yeah, I guess the narrative wasn't compelling enough. He went with the wrong narrative. All right, round number 1. We got our own little WrestleMania night 1, night 2 going on here tonight. And we begin with the Brothers of Destruction. Yo, I think about the current state of the tag team division in WWE, and then I think, man, you know, we used to have some team. Like, imagine looking at this team across the ring from you, without the sledgehammers in their hands. What has happened to the tag team division? Undertaker and Kane are going to be taking on. Wow, look at this. Malachi Black and Brody King. That's actually a really fucking badass match. 2 very dark teams. All brawling types. Malachi and Brody against Undertaker and Kane. That's a great match. I'm going to give that second bell. I'm giving that 2 bells. That's what I'm doing. Wow. That's going to be a tough one to top. Let's go to the women's match. Apparently, we're going to have a lot of them on the WrestleMania card this year. 5 or 6. We have Alexa Bliss. Bliss fan, where are you at? Where are you at, Bliss fan? This one's for you. Alexa Bliss may not have a singles match at WrestleMania this year, but she's going to have one here tonight. And she is going to be wrestling Rosa Mendez. It's the point. It's like she's pointing at me saying, you know what to do. I'm sorry, Bliss fan. I'm sorry. Not the match I know he was hoping for. All right. Our main event here for night 1. Night 1. Oh my God, look who it is, everybody. It's JD from New York in the main event. We need a heel. We needed a heel in the main event of night 1. And this is the heel that we all deserved. JD from NY 206 is in the main event. And now we must find out. We must find out who his opponent is going to be. There are any number of people in Be the Booker here who probably dislike this man. So we have a vast pool to choose from. Chad Gable. All right. You know what? I'll tell you what. If JD was going to have any shot at having a decent wrestling match, this is the man that I would want to be in the ring with. Chad Gable. There you go. I think you would make him look halfway decent in the ring. See, this right here, this is the guy that you want to be in the ring with. Especially if you don't have a lot of in-ring experience. It's this guy right here. But now we get to go again. We get to go again because you guys unlocked a second round. A second round of Be the Booker. Oh, we have a super chat here from Reborn Bladder. Or Blake. I did it again. Reborn Blader. I don't know why every time I see that name, I like my eyes, I read it and I just say Reborn Bladder. And I'm like, Of all the things to be reborn as, if you're reincarnated, I would not want to be reincarnated as a bladder. Like, of all the things to be reborn as, what a horrible thing. Reborn Blader says, do you have a favorite Be the Booker match? Hope you're having a good night. Yeah, I mean, there have been a bunch of them. I mean, I'm sure Bret Hart has been in most of them. I'm trying to think what, like, the all-time... There's been so many of them, dude. There isn't really one that jumps out at me. There's been a couple... I'll tell you what, when we did Kurt Angle against Kurt Angle that one time, it doesn't really get much better than that. Yeah, or any body part. I wouldn't want to be reborn as any... Well, actually, that's not true. All right, here we go. Stipulation. Loser leaves town match. All right, so we're going to have ourselves a tag team loser leaves town match. So the losers of this match, they have to leave the territory. I might even have to consider removing them from Be the Booker. And I think I know which team that's going to be. We have the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and the great Tonga Loa from Bullet Club, now MFTs. And they're going to be taking on Top Flight. God and Top Flight in a loser leaves town match. Well, at least God back in the Bullet Club days was kind of cool. I can't say the same thing about the MFTs. And you put them in the ring with Top Flight, you're going to get a good match out of it. All right, now we have to pick a stipulation for our women's match. Ooh, we're putting the ladies inside Monsters Ball. This is going to get bloody. This is going to get brutal. It's Monsters Ball. It's Bird Girl flying into Monsters Ball. It is Lyra Valkyria spreading her wings. Lyra Valkyria against Stephanie Vicaire. Monsters Ball. And actually, even in the absence of that stipulation, that'd be a good match. I like that match. Am I going to like our main event? This is what it all comes down to. We have a main event that will be, oh no, a Kennel from Hell match. This is going down a very bad road. A cage in a cage. It's like putting a hat on a hat. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense now, does it? Kennel from Hell, folks. Nothing I can do. That's the stipulation. We picked it. We're sticking with it. Who's going in it? Dude Love in Kennel from Hell. I believe the woman on the left in this image is his wife. I believe that's his wife. He did well for himself. Dude Love, Kennel from Hell against Yokozuna. And realistically, you lost me at Kennel from Hell. But I mean, what do you do with a match like this? I mean, really. But I'm going to tell you something. You guys have rocked it tonight. And I believe that we can do better. I believe that you are deserving of a main event that is worthy of a double Be the Booker. And so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull a Jey Uso on you. We're going to run it back. We can't let it end like this. We're going to run it back. And this time, we're going to have a tables, ladders, and chairs match. That's more like it. And now let's find out. What happened here? No. That doesn't count. I didn't hit the button. All right, here we go. Tables, ladders, and chairs match. This doesn't happen very often. I'm making an executive decision. And it will be the bad guy, Razor Ramon, in a TLC. Oh, man, we should land on Shawn Michaels for this. How great would that be? Oh, Razor Ramon against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Tables, ladders, and chairs. Yeah, we're not talking about Austin and Scott Hall at WrestleMania 18. We're talking about the bad guy. We're talking about Razor. We're not talking about 2002 Scott Hall. Yeah, be the Booker desperately wants The Rock. And it's always freezing on The Rock. You're not getting The Rock. You're not getting The Rock in real life, and you're not getting The Rock in Be the Booker. Anyway, that's a main event that is worthy, I think, of the night that we've had here. Arabian Night. Let's get to your final super chats here. What if Sheamus joins the Judgment Day as the serious leader? It would be a way to get him on television more consistently. I see, but the thing is, like with the Judgment Day, it probably should be someone younger and newer who could really benefit from the exposure. I don't know that needs to be Sheamus. I know Finn was kind of like the veteran of the group. You could do it, but I just think there were better people for that spot. Deathside says, I watched Demolition against LOD in the Ultimate Warrior in Madison Square Garden and at Saturday night's main event, and I asked why was Warrior inserted into that feud since he was the WWF champion? Because Demolition had 3 men. It was a trios match. God, I wish I could remember. It might have been Madison Square Garden. Now that I mention it, or now that you mention it, there was a match. It had to be at Madison Square Garden, and it was that match. And when the Warrior came out and he made his entrance, I told this story before. When the Warrior came out and made his entrance, and he's a fucking maniac, of course. So he comes down to ringside and he goes to run around the ring, and as he's running, he just slams into a ringside worker. And the guy's hair goes in one direction and his body goes in the other direction. And he gets knocked to the floor. And you could see Howard Finkel in the ring is obviously very concerned. And he like dives out of the ring to go check on the guy. But it's the funniest thing. He just reckless abandon, just no regard for the people around him. I wish I could remember what date the show was. It was definitely a house show, though, in Madison Square Garden. I'll never forget that. Cameron Spencer. Why are you against a 6-man match with Trick, Sammy, Orton, Cody, Drew, and fought 2 at Wrestle? Why would you take 6 guys and put them in the match? You have to book a WrestleMania card. Why don't you just put everybody in the same match? No. No, a 6-way match is ridiculous. I'm okay with it up to a 4-way. A 6-way, you're getting ridiculous now. Why would Sami Zayn be in there? Sami Zayn's a fucking loser. He's got to work his way back up into title contention. What the hell are you putting him in a title match for? Trick Williams just got there. He was in the Elimination Chamber. He didn't win. Neither did Cody, but Trick was not the one who got fucked over by Drew McIntyre. Says, I do believe eventually you'll get on board. You're going to be waiting an awfully long time, Cameron. I ain't getting on board with that idea. It's a bad idea. You got to abandon ship. You got to let it go. And Retro, thank you for 36 months of channel membership, celebrating 3 years. Have a great night, y'all. Have a great night. 3 years? On board for 3 years. That's awesome. I appreciate that. That's all I got for you. You guys killed it tonight. We had a great review, fun review here, despite all the ninja nonsense. Double Be the Booker. I'd call that a good night. And you know what else is going to be a good night? Tomorrow night is going to be a good night because we have Tuesday Night Titans over on JD's channel, and also dropping in the evening tomorrow, probably around 7 or 8 p.m., the Uncrowned Wrestling Show, episode 5. We're already up to episode 5. I got a lot of news for you. It's over on the Ariel Helwani Show channel. Go subscribe. And then I'm going to be live back here on the channel with you. You'll see my face right here on the channel on Wednesday night. We got the Dynamite post show, which is actually the final Dynamite before Revolution this Sunday. And I'll probably be live after Revolution as well. And then SmackDown on Friday. So you got a full week coming up. But if you missed episode 954 of The Sound Off, go back and check it out. It was a great show. We hit number 2 in the rankings today. So be sure to check that out if you're looking for something to listen to tomorrow. That's all I got for you. Be well. Stay safe. Thank you for all the love. Let's do it all over again Wednesday night and again on Friday. Leopoldo.
Mentos, the Fresh Maker.
Oh, the Fresh Maker. Yes. My favorite super chat. Actually, my favorite super chat is the Macho Monster, but it's up in the 150 range. Leopoldo, Death Scythe recommended a song for Gunther a couple of chats ago. Daemonin by Stallman. I listened to it, and it was actually really good. A little fast for Gunther, but it would be perfect for Braun Breaker or Penta even. Interesting. You know, I was going to check that song out, and then I forgot. And so now I have to check that out. Actually, to be honest with you, you know what would be a really great song for Gunther to come out to? It's actually a Rammstein song called, or even maybe, I don't know about entrance music, but like a really good video package. It's a song called Mine, Hers, Brent. It's a great song. I just feel like we could use this for Gunther in some way. Love that song. Anyway, Leopoldo, thank you for the 30. You're awesome. See, that's how you end the stream right there. Yeah, James, there were ninjas. You missed it, brother. They came from everywhere. And then they disappeared. They did it. They danced a little jig and then they disappeared. Don't worry, you didn't miss much with the ninjas. That would be a great one, but he's Austrian, so you got to go with Falco. LOL. I'm telling you, man. Mine, Hers, Brent. Go look it up. Go look it up. I don't know. I get this very like post-apocalyptic vibe from it. Anyway, you be the judge of it. I'll see you back here on Wednesday night for the Dynamite stream and tomorrow night for Tuesday Night Titans. Until then, take care, guys.
Stone Cold Steve Austin has come